Cliff's case.
All right, it is 7 p.m. on September 8th, 2020. We are going to open the regular board meeting. Do roll call, please.
Yep. I have trustees Chris Sample,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger is absent, Dina Simpson is absent, Jen Christensen,
Here.
Jared Doan,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onabany,
Here.
I Clerk Steve Mazem here, Attorney Dan Bolin,
Here.
and Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
All right, would you please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, will you read off the items on the consent agenda?
Yes. Tonight for approval on the consent agenda is item number 1, the August 11th, 2020 regular board meeting minutes. Number 2 is the August 4th, 2020 special meeting of the village board minutes. Number 3 is the bills payable warrant list dated September 8th, 2020. And number 4 is resolution number 20-61, resolution approving and authorizing execution of intergovernmental agreement between the state of Illinois, Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and the village of Davis Junction.
At this time, do any of the board members wish to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Not hearing any, will entertain the first motion.
I move to place agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 4 inclusively as consent agenda items. Further, I move that all items be considered together as the consent agenda.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to include items 1 through 4 as inclusively as the consent agenda. John seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Dina's absent, Chris,
Yes.
and William's absent.
Second motion.
I move to adopt items 1 through 4 inclusively on the consent agenda in a single group pursuant to the omnibus vote procedure specified in the Illinois Municipal Code.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to include items, or I'm sorry, to adopt items 1 through 4 inclusively as a consent agenda. Jared seconds. Is there any discussion? Do we need to do discussion on that since we didn't have anybody remove anything? All right, then we will move to roll call. We can stop doing discussion on that.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Dina's absent, Chris,
Yes.
William is absent, Jen.
Yes.
Motion's passed 7:04. The public didn't notice it was that slightly discernible shake of Dan's head that says we don't have to do discussion.
You can allow it. It's, the two motions are, number 1, establishing the agenda, and then number 2, voting on all of it. Will there ever be a need for discussion, to your point? Not really.
All right, so clarification, love it.
Sure.
You'll never hear from us. Just keep saying sit, just over and over. All right, so we do not need item C. Report of the officers from myself. I don't have anything on the agenda, and I don't think I have anything outside of the agenda. Sandy?
I do not have anything.
Brenda?
I have the August 2020 Treasurer's Report in the packet.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? If there are any, please reach out to Brenda. Dan?
Thank you, Rick. I hope that you all were able to receive and review the memo we circulated about vacating right-of-way. My understanding is that there is a piece of right-of-way on platted but unimproved Lincoln Avenue that has some trees or landscaping that a private person is planted in there, an adjacent owner possibly, and there's some interest in quote-unquote possibly selling this piece of property to the property owner, of course, because it is dedicated right-of-way that the village holds in trust for the public, there's a statutory procedure to vacate that right-of-way. And, as summarized in the memo, number one, determining that vacating the property is in the public interest. Does the village need this right-of-way, or will it be relieved from maintaining this particular piece of right-of-way? Number two, determining the fair market value. You don't have to charge the abutting owners the fair market value, but if you do charge them, you have to determine what the fair market value of the property is. And then number three, adopting an ordinance requires a supermajority vote. This board has adopted vacation ordinances in the past. You might be familiar with what they look like. They have specific devolutions of title about how the right-of-way is going to be divided among adjacent owners, and that's filed with the recorder's office. So that's a real high-level summary of the vacation process. It's more detailed in the memo. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to clarify. Hey, Dan, can we sell that land to anybody we'd like to?
No. Think about the right-of-way. It's like erasing lines on a subdivision plat. So right now it's held in trust for the public for future right-of-way use. And the village doesn't own it outright. It's actually been described as owning right-of-way is more like holding an easement for right-of-way purposes for future roadway uses or right-of-way uses. It's a different character of ownership, so you don't just get to sell it like property that other village property that the village might own outright.
Are you saying it has to be sold to somebody on an adjacent property?
That's typically how it's vacated.
No, that's not what I said. I said, are you saying that's the only people you can sell it to?
Well, you don't sell it. It's literally
Well, you're saying
erasing.
you can charge a fee for it, then if you vacate it and then you said you could sell it, or at least according to the memo that I read, that's what my question is. Is that not what it says?
You can charge.
This being the right-of-way,
you could charge the adjacent owners fair market value, but unless you, in the ordinance, provide for a specific devolution of title to one party or the other, those adjacent owners have, if they pay for it, one of the adjacent owners can own more than half. But if you don't,
that's my mistake.
provide a specific devolution of title,
Because
it splits right down the middle.
When you say, you can charge a fair market value for the property, that can be, sell it to them. That's my confusion there, so, but. It's
a tricky, yeah.
It seems kind of weird if you can decide, and maybe I read this wrong too, if you can decide that you're really, only offering it or to one person and that's it, that seems kind of weird to me.
I agree with you. That sounds a little weird. Please direct all complaints to the Illinois General Assembly. They wrote the
Right
statute, and but this is the procedure that's provided by statute. You have to follow the statute. It's actually an old common law principle. The legislature gets to dictate how this public trust property is disposed of, and this is the procedure they gave us.
Sorry, last question. It sounds to me like, according to this memo, that it isn't really worth the effort, the cost and effort to, charge the owners as opposed to just vacating it and having it split between them. Am I reading that wrong?
I'm sorry, what's that?
It sounds to me like most municipalities do not charge the landowner, they just vacate the property and the portions go to whoever the adjoining property owners are.
That is more typical.
All right.
Sometimes the village will dictate, where, depending on, certain factors about like how the right-of-way's been improved in the past, and like which, and, kind of designate how the title is split, and it may not be precisely down the middle, but, typically, those are kind of two separate questions. Do municipalities typically charge? I don't see it very often. And then, how is it split?
Well, since
Typically
you're-
down the middle.
Since you're limited, what if I just say, no, I don't want it?
Dan and I spent many years vacating all of the dead-end streets on this side of town and alleys and everything else, and we actually had a homeowner who didn't want it, but we ended up giving them the land regardless.
Well, giving, that is one thing.
Yeah, so
Charging
in-
is another.
In all of our disposition of the lands that Dan and I did for over those years, we never
All right.
charged anybody.
I just meant if we were gonna try to charge somebody, at the fair market value for their portion and they just said, forget it, then you're just stuck giving it to them anyway. So if you're limited, if I'm a homeowner, why would I bother to pay when I can get it for free? Sorry, go ahead. That's just me.
What I don't understand is, okay, so we're talking about Lincoln between, is it Maple Court?
No, this is, North Junction and
Right.
Goodrich.
Right, but it's a road that's there, but it's not there.
An alley.
We have a
That's
feeling
alley.
this was an alley that somebody put a
It's
name
an
on.
alley.
Go ahead.
Where's that mic?
I mean, you can see by the width of it, it's nowhere near the right width for a road. It's a hazard for them to plow.
Okay, that was my question. You are including Maple Court?
Right, I thought we were
Okay.
doing the.
I was getting a little confused there for a
Right.
second. I
No.
thought you were
I
just
thought we were
talking
talking
about
about
The
Lincoln
the
between.
last time we discussed is we would
Okay.
break, I think we talked about all of it would go to this side.
Yeah, but the memo says Lincoln Avenue near Maple Court.
Right,
Yeah,
that's the right of way. That's the right of way right
We
here.
were talking about the road that's there, but it's not there.
No, we were talking about Lincoln
Okay.
specifically. The discussion had been to vacate that land
Right.
and then pride its value and then sell it to whoever the highest bidder was. Well, then Dan informed me that you can't do that.
Okay,
We have to give it to one of the, or sell it, or.
Or keep it.
Or keep it, and then tell that guy to get his stuff off the property.
So we either just leave it like it is and plow snow out into it?
He must have-
well, that's what I'm saying, like, when you say right of way, what do you,
The road, where the road should be, that entire section
Right.
right there, from the blue line to the blue line is Lincoln Road right.
If you just take this,
Okay.
this is the right of way over here for the road. If you
Right.
just take this and extend it out,
right, I
we
know
have
that's
the
where it's
right to
supposed
do
be.
that.
Yeah.
Right,
that's
there's a subdivision plat, pardon me, somewhere, a subdivision plat that probably says that this road is, this right-of-way is dedicated to the village of Davis Junction.
Right,
Which really means it's for those public purposes. It's not, the village doesn't own it the same way that it owns other property.
How many of them do you think there were, Sandy, on the other side of town? On the original
Well, I
side?
think Dan and I probably did 7 or 8 of them, and then we came back and found 1 or 2
We
more.
found the ones over by the railroad.
Yeah, there were a bunch of dead ends there, there was the alley right there that,
there was the one
Yeah,
over by.
I know, we just had a bunch of them that the village
Yeah.
had right of way and there was no reason for the village to
No.
have it.
there was, like, people
So
at
we gave
Village
it
Shed
to
and
the
Project-
landowners that were near it on the original side of town. But this, I don't see any harm in keeping the right of way, but I think we need to still vacate.
So if we
this.
would vacate Maple Court, we would no longer be responsible for plowing and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
And what we talked about, again, what we talked about last time was to give all of this to the people to the east, because everybody to the west has a barricade up, or fence. And then the piece down here would go to this property, this piece would go to this property, and then this piece would go to this property.
Now,
And we no longer plow it or fix it.
Go ahead, Dan.
mind you, there's, I should throw in the standard warning, words of warning about private streets. Now, this is an alley, but the warning still applies. In any community where there are private streets, where private persons are expected to maintain the roads or the alleys, they inevitably come back to the municipality years later with the mistaken impression that this is a public street and why isn't the village taking care of it? And the people just don't get it.
What we made sure of was, this property has access off of Goodrich, this property has access off of Goodrich. This property does not. The only access it has is that, and this is the garage, is this driveway. And that's what it would become, is their driveway.
Fair
How
enough.
they wanna fence it off, I don't care.
Sure, but the inevitable complaints will happen anyway, and that's just,
Guaranteed, when it comes to fixing the road, they'll want the village to fix
We
the
do
road.
have
Right.
we do have a private alley in town, actually, directly to the left of where Rick's at right now. Right,
This
that
one.
right there is a private alley. It is not owned by the village. So, we already have one.
I thought that was their driveway.
It is not. It's owned by, I think Fergie and I looked it up a year or so ago, it's owned by all of them.
It looks like, according to this, and of course GIS isn't always right, but looks
Yeah.
like it's patched to,
It's like half owned by them for access, but then there's an access easement, like it's a hot mess over there. But it's not ours.
So, question then, if I may. Sandy, I think this probably will be directed towards you. The Maple Court then,
Yeah.
you said that is not, what you found in the plat, that is not a street.
Yeah, I was trying to find the one that I had sent you before. It's from the original dedication of the Village of Davis Junction. That is not a street, that is an alley.
That is an alley that the village currently owns. What is the right-of-way on an alley?
Whatever was on that map that I gave you. I was trying to find it.
Oh, it's in my truck.
Yeah.
Because that's, I'm curious, even if it's an alley, it should have right-of-way, correct? There's gotta be, it's owned by the village.
Hold on.
So what would it be as an alley?
well, based on what the county drew, we're in their houses.
well, which is why every GIS website has disclaimer
Yeah.
after a disclaimer on the front. But and so this is not a survey. To Brett's point, you would have to look at the original plat to see how this alley was dedicated. It was probably, these streets and alleys were dedicated for public right-of-way purposes. It's, the alley description probably more goes to the size and the use rather than, the manner of how it's held. Streets and alleys are vacated the same way.
Did you have a alternate use or alternate idea?
No, I'm just curious because I'm just looking to whether, if we keep this, if we end up keeping this, it's not a street, it's an alley. How do we, do we make it a street if we keep it? How extreme do we go?
Do we have any addresses on Maple Court other than the one? Or the rest of them?
there should be two
I-
on Maple Court.
There's three houses
Three,
on
I'm
it.
sorry,
Yeah.
three.
But are they all Maple Court or are the two Goodrich?
I think, hold on, let me.
I'm a little confused here, that just, yeah.
Cause that's something
It's
we
not
have,
making,
that's something we have to get together with the
Look
post
on the
office.
GIS.
it's not making sense to me.
I'll pull it down so we're not throwing names. That is Maple Court. That is Maple Court. And that is Maple Court. I pulled it down, so. Yeah, so they're all three Maple Court, so we'd have to get to the post office to redesignate them as,
Yeah, I do that all the time.
what?
I do that all the time.
We'd have to go Goodrich, and the other one had to go to East
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
But
I thought
doesn't that make it a street?
What?
giving
If you
it
have
the
mail
address?
delivered, you don't have mail delivered to an alley.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Okay. No, I mean, currently.
Okay, so I guess,
I mean,
let's-
I had
let's-
mail delivered to a restroom sitting out in the middle of some train tracks.
Okay,
You,
just
Put
curious.
a post office box anywhere.
so what are your thoughts on abandoning this alley and getting rid of it?
It makes no difference to me. You think
Who's
that the
gonna sell-
homeowners
who's
are
gonna
gonna be,
plow
are gonna
What's
like
that?
that?
They're gonna have
We
to
get
deal
rid
with
of
it.
it, we don't plow it.
We don't plow it. Once it's no longer ours, we don't touch it.
Yeah, but are the people that live there gonna be able to do that?
Do we plow most alleys?
You do your driveway?
Just the ones we own.
Yeah, but you're talking the whole street? That's a long,
It's a
Well, it's not,
alley.
because each individual house would have
It's
part of
not,
it.
it's pretty tight anyway, isn't it?
It is very tight. You don't run two cars through there.
It's extremely,
I'm just saying it'd be a lot for 3 homeowners to remove the snow.
Well, again, they can fence it off if they don't wanna remove snow and use it as a yard.
Right.
They can remove the asphalt and use it as grass.
What are the majority ones?
The one person would have a nice paved driveway.
Well, the one house has to have the access to their house. We can't cut them off, so they would have to have that piece of property up to their garage.
You said the one is, that's the only access they have is from that street, right? They
It
don't
is.
have it from Goodrich?
No, see, it's, the one that's highlighted only has access here, 'cause there's two houses between them and Goodrich.
But basically, they could barricade at the end of their property so you couldn't drive through.
Right. Or they could put a fence up across this end of their property.
Yeah,
Too.
well, however they wanna do it.
The original plat of subdivision for the Village of Davis Junction, which dedicates that as an alley, has it as a width of 16 feet.
on
That's
good-
your alley.
Yeah. on
Is,
good
you
day.
think it's actually that wide? I don't think so.
It probably is. but
Probably
yeah,
was.
You think it's the width of a two-car garage door?
Barely.
If.
It is, I'll be honest, it is a maintenance nightmare.
Oh, exactly, and sooner or later, we're gonna catch one of those fences.
Or we're gonna slide in, we're gonna catch the house at the end.
Right.
Yeah, for comparison, the roads on that side of town are 66 feet in width. The right-of-way of 66 feet, as opposed to the alley that's 16.
And so here to here, in reality, is 66 feet. And the road should be how wide?
The roads, I don't remember if they're 26, 28 pavement, I can't remember for sure.
Again, you're tight to put two cars, if you could, on that street.
There is no two cars.
No, so that's what I'm saying, you don't have a two-car garage width on that pavement.
It's not, no.
Because I could drive two cars through a two-car garage and not touch each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't work out well. I think in front of the one place you could do it, but as you get further to the north, you can't. So,
Well, it wouldn't bother me if we vacated it, you know.
I'm okay with vacating just for the ease of public works.
Yeah, it's fine.
We've gotten rid of the rest of the alleys that didn't do us a whole lot of anything.
Unless, of course, our homeowners say no thanks.
They're probably,
We've had that
They have to
before.
have a
I'm
tank.
I'm just saying.
oh, I've given land to people who said no thanks,
Just
but
saying.
it's in the best interest of the village, so
I-
unfortunately, some
And I don't have an issue with that, I'm just,
I mean, the other option is you go through and try and figure out how the heck do you widen it to a full-blown road,
you
and
can't.
Can you check
There's
your
no way.
email, see if you got the original town map I just sent you?
There's not enough room there.
you would have to shift your
That's
right of way to the west and take the backyards.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That costs us, yeah, just vacate it.
And I don't think those folks would enjoy that.
well, I have it, but it doesn't say anything about
Yeah, you just gotta open up I was just wanted to show everybody that that's what it's in, this is what it was platted for the village originally. This is its original plat from 1915.
There's Goodrich,
So there's, shows over there, but it doesn't, it just shows that little
it's
space.
an alley,
Yeah, it's an alley,
'cause there's Goodrich, and that's
yeah.
Junction.
Yeah, just shows it as a
And you
little
see all of
space.
those, it's hard to see in those alleys, each one of them's numbered, but they're just alleys.
Got three.
And there's 6.
Yeah, so some of those near where his mouth is now, we vacated last time we did this, like
That
that
one,
one's
that
gone,
one.
that one's gone.
Very interesting.
This is,
Can't tell that's old, can you?
that one's gone. We got rid of this one that dead end to the train track.
Isn't that the one that had the issue?
Yeah.
Could be.
That area. It is. But yeah, so when people call it Maple Court, I just look at this map and I'm like, it's an alley. I don't know how it got its name. I did a search in our records. I can't find that anybody ever dedicated it as a roadway. I don't know that we would have had the authority to dedicate it as a roadway at 16.
Right, you'd think you would have to find it someplace, the fact that there were mailboxes put up.
And it doesn't
No,
require.
so, the installation of a mailbox with an address is literally just a municipality sending a letter to the post office saying, I need this address at this location. I mean,
Really?
I put an address
Wouldn't do
for
it straight.
that, there's that little restroom break box for the, at the intersection of
Where
where
the track-in used to
for the
be.
track-in used to be. I gave that an address.
You give them a mailbox?
There's no mailbox, but I had to give it for the post office. I sent them a letter saying, here's its address, so they could put a box there if they want to. Yeah, it's that simple. You don't have to have rhyme or reason to your United States Postal Service address versus your town layout.
That's odd considering they can tell us what kind of mailbox and everything we have to have.
Well, that's
But yet, they don't have to have the verification or not if
They just need it from me.
street.
Yeah, those two properties on the north side of that, if we do go through with the vacation, will be 102 and 104. These are the first two properties on Maple Court, or on Goodrich. There's no even numbered properties. Everything's out on East Chicago.
Either that or end up with Lincoln Avenue.
So would they keep their
Lincoln.
Maple Court addresses, or would they disappear? That would be the next question.
Well, if we vacate it too, the thing is, I don't know that the Postal Service will allow their mailboxes, if any are even there, 'cause I'm not sure that they have any,
They may have
To-
post office box.
post office boxes, to even be
But again-
allowed there, 'cause they don't go onto private property to deliver your mail.
But see, those properties on the north both have driveways to Goodrich.
Yeah,
So there's no reason they couldn't just pick up a Goodrich address.
Yeah.
They are,
Right, but
the only other property there is this one, and it has an East Chicago address
yeah,
out there.
and then I could even give the one to the left, that has access easement issue, that one would
East
have
Chicago.
an East Chicago address.
Right. But this could be, you could do 102, 104, 'cause they're in the 100 block, and there's no other even numbers.
Yeah.
And that's the odd side. So, are you guys wanting to proceed with abandoning or vacating the alley?
Yes.
I have no issue with it, so, sure.
I don't have an issue with it either.
All right, Dan, you gonna
That
start
is
title work for me?
interesting.
Yeah, we'll order title and talk to the village engineer to create some vacation plats.
The one property is 103 Maple Court.
Yeah,
It'd also be 103 East Chicago.
yeah.
Isn't that coincidental?
I'm putting that in your court, Dan.
You got it.
Because the properties on either side are 101 or 105. Okay. I don't mean to screw with people's lives, but this is, it's becoming an issue when we get, I know, imagine when we had the heavy snows a couple of years ago, it had to have been brutal. Because where do you push it? You're either gonna shove it into the house. If you can push it straight down the street, you might get lucky, but... And how big are the plows on the truck? 13?
We have to do that, with the pickup truck, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're wet, heavy, it's
Yep.
gonna be difficult with
Yeah,
that.
yes, it was not fun.
Not fun at all. Okay. So let's proceed. By state statute. Follow the rules. I had this conversation earlier today. Not about this. Anything further, Dan?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Go to the committees, community development. Jen?
We have a farmer's market tomorrow night. Let's hope that the rain stops. I know I have at least one new vendor. I don't know if, I was told there was supposed to be another one that submitted, but I didn't get anything from Sarah. So or anybody, so I have no idea if,
If you didn't receive anything from her, she didn't receive
Okay.
anything.
Then I have, the fall party, or the planning I've started. It's, the date that I had originally set was October 17th. I will do it as a drive-through event. And I'm looking at the hours, it will be from 2 to 4, and that is the timing that I have normally done the party in the past, so I figure I'll just stick to that. And I gotta get creative and see how I'm gonna do this.
I did ask Sarah to please go ahead and just start coming up with some Photoshop stuff.
Yeah, she emailed me today.
Perfect, and then I told her to email you too, so that you guys can figure it out.
Yeah, so we are down to 3 farmers markets. That's including tomorrow night. So we have tomorrow night the 9th, the 23rd, and then October 7th will be the last one. So hopefully we can finish the season strong. I think they have, personally, I think they've gone really well. I don't know, you know, I walk around and I talk to vendors and stuff like that. I really wish that we could get more food trucks to come here, but a lot of them want so much traffic, they want a minimum of 100 orders, and it's really hard to make promises that I can't keep. So, I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a decent turnout tomorrow night if the rain ever stops. And people keep coming down and support those vendors, because I think they're having a really good time. I do know that the lady, the one vendor who makes the breads, is making cinnamon rolls with cream cheese frosting tomorrow night, is gonna be down there selling them. I did hear that.
What time does it start?
It starts at 4, and I think we're going to be probably wrapping up between 7 and 7:30 because of it's getting darker faster. So it'll start at 4 and wrap up between 7 and 7:30. But that's all I have.
All right, we'll move on to finance, and William, he's not here. Do you have anything, Brenda?
Yes.
Yes, we may have an, emergency expenditure with all the rain. These 5 windows, the 3 here and the 2 in the offices are leaking. As you see, there's a garbage can there.
I thought maybe you guys were playing basketball.
That window and Sandy's window is leaking, a lot.
Sandy, yours was coming down into the office. This one's actually just going into the wall.
Oh, this one's actually coming out of the top of the frame too. That's
We'll
why I
buy,
put
we'll
it-
buy
but
you
yeah,
a floaty.
A floaty.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you get the water behind that wall, you're gonna start looking
Yeah,
at the possibility of
that
black
is the
mold.
bigger concern. So in my office, you can, as Rick said, you can see the windows above it, so we can see where it's coming in through the brick. But this isn't closed, so at some point we'll have to pull this open and figure out what, if any, water damage has been there too.
And tomorrow we do have, Weaver has a roof person coming to look at it, and so we'll know more within the next couple days.
Yikes.
So be prepared for emergency expenditure.
Chris's buildings.
Not, unfortunately, not this one.
Oh, not anymore? Darn it.
Not this one.
Okay, that's all.
That's right.
That's all right.
All right.
Wait a minute.
Or unless you just wanna
prefer not
approve, $10,000 right now.
No, no, we don't.
I'd just like to follow up with my statement, like, we need to do regular maintenance on buildings that we own, right, all of them, and that no regular maintenance has been done on Village Hall. Alan will be here next week to discuss his items that he's recommending for immediate repair and the approximate cost of those. I did contact him today and asked him to add these windows to that.
Were they not on that list already?
They were not.
How much leaking have these done? I mean, I know they've been bad with
So
wind and...
air has always been an issue. This is the first time that, in my time here, that we've had water come in through them, but it was bad. But Weaver thought originally it might have been this stuff on the, I don't know if you guys know, but there's like metal flashing on the outside of the upper windows where the old gym windows are or used to be. And he thought maybe that was leaking, but then he got up there and he realized it wasn't that. So we went all the way up to the roof and realized that there's some roof issues, which are what causing it. Again, back to regular maintenance, we need to spend money on all of our buildings regularly.
Well, not this one. We need to get rid of it.
It doesn't matter. And I'm speaking not just for this building, for any buildings we own, we can't let it go 40 years without maintenance, which is what's occurred here.
Anything further?
Have to vote on that.
All right. Ordinance enforcement, Jared?
Nothing.
Parks and John?
I did not hear anything from Nate, so nothing this evening.
Can
I do have some updates on the gentleman that's gonna try to restart.
Sandy.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go first.
He's gonna try and restart Weekend in the Park. I have told him that their 501c3 was involuntarily dissolved. So he will be facing, having to restart one. And right now, I think it's gonna be a difficult, I'm all for it, but I think it's gonna be a difficult thing getting funding and getting donations from businesses,
Yeah.
with everything that's happened this year. So I know he's looking at next year. Obviously, we're way late in the year, but it's gonna be a tough battle, but
Because
it'd be nice to get it started off small.
The issues in the past was we bailed it out every year, or a good share of the years.
Well, we contributed to it. The last couple of years, there were some bailouts because we don't feel it was necessarily maintained or managed properly. For a long time, it was a great event,
Yeah, it was.
and,
But I think from the start, though, I think we have to make sure it's geared towards families. Because I always remember the complaint how mom and the kids didn't want to go in the beer tent. So, I mean, I think as a town with families in it, it should be geared towards families. Not a beer tent with live bands that go to 2, 3 in the morning, something geared towards families. I'm not volunteering for that.
they are, the
I think
part of
we-
it is we had to have a member of the board on there as a liaison, and,
We're nowhere near there
a
yet.
lot of time, no, we're not. A lot of times it was the parks trustee.
That's fine, if I need to do that, I will, but we're nowhere near there at this point. But I mean, we are pretty much primarily a family town versus a town, of course, we do have
Again,
three bars.
I think when we first moved here, I think the Weekend in the Park was a completely different, event than it ended up being at the end.
True, you're correct.
It definitely evolved, and it evolved towards adult party. I'll have to agree with that, and to the point where I truly, and this is just my humble opinion, that you had a hard time finding staff, except they were in the beer tent. And they should have been out running the event.
I certainly would, be on there as a liaison, but we gotta get there first.
Yeah. John, just a little bit of feedback too, as somebody who does a lot of nonprofit work. As much as I agree with most of your statements, beer sales and beer tents is what makes money. And so, yes, there needs to be other stuff, but that's how you make money in the nonprofit world.
Anything further, John?
Oh, I had something.
No.
Oh, you had
San-
something.
Sandy.
I do. It's kinda not really John, it's kinda John, Chris, everybody. So we do have a fundraiser coming up on Sunday for,
I was gonna say
For
something, but I
somebody-
didn't know if I was allowed to.
So I'm not gonna say who they are, but they are coming into the park. They will be closing down, they have asked to close down Park Street Lincoln between Park and Moody? Yeah. And so, where the farmer's market normally is, so that portion of the road will be closed on Sunday afternoon. They are also bringing in food trucks for the fundraiser, and I'm hopeful that maybe if they're bringing in 2 or 3 new ones that we don't typically have, that we might even pick up on those people if they're successful
Well,
here.
I talked with her when she
Yeah.
was doing stuff, and I think she's got a couple.
I think she's got 4.
Sorry,
Well, no, I'm like that
Yeah.
we don't have.
Yes. Yep, very much
And-
so.
we're
actually-
closing the park for a fundraiser.
So they've asked for a road closure, which is
No,
completely
the park
acceptable.
itself, is
No,
that
No.
open?
the
No.
Alright.
street.
No, the street is closed.
Well, you
Lincoln
can't
is
get to
closed.
the park through the street, then the park
Yes,
is
you
closed.
can. You
Yes,
can
you
go
can.
down
All
the
right.
park,
All
by
right.
Dollar General.
Okay, relax now.
Yeah, no,
Calm yourself.
Turn
so
around, children.
it's the same road closure process that you'd have if somebody had a block party or a street party or something like that. Same type of process was followed. They did do all the rules, we got the insurance, everything's been followed. They are gonna close, they did get permission from the village to close that section of the road, and there will be a few
When
food
you
trucks
said the
there.
village, do you mean this board, or you mean
They
you?
have 5 so far?
When you say the village, do you mean the board or administratively?
Administratively,
All right.
i.e.
But we-
Rick.
That's why we put policies in place.
Yeah, yeah, so we followed the procedures that we have for that, and so,
Nice to know ahead of time.
well, I did run it past the public works supervisor ahead of time too, to confirm that they
Who
would
does
be
she
available
think?
to give barricades to close it.
Most
so.
permits, we don't run by the board, and it's nothing more than a
Yeah.
permit
No,
that follows the
and when-
policy.
Well,
And
you're
when
gonna
I
close
was-
roads, maybe the board should be.
And when I was approached
Yeah.
about it, and I sent them there.
Yeah, and they followed
Again.
all of the procedure so far, so.
That's my thing, if you're gonna close roads, maybe the board should be notified.
Then that is something that you would need to take up as a change to a process, procedure, or ordinance.
Really, you need an ordinance for that.
I
The
would
board would have to
know
rewrite the
where our
policy.
came from.
Are you comfortable with doing it for this event?
I don't know, I don't even know what the event is, so how the heck would I know?
Too late. For this event, it's already been approved by administratively.
Apparently
without
it
the
seems.
procedures. Anyway, I do wanna say that the food truck ordinance that we recently passed has come in handy a lot recently, and so I'm very glad that we passed that, and it seems to be working semi-smooth, but we'll figure out all the bumps as more people use it.
Can I tell them the food trucks that are gonna be here?
I don't know if you know who they are
Yes, I
yet.
do know who they are.
Go for it. Brenda will correct you if she's got one wrong.
So we have the, Salt and Light, which is the cotton candy cloud that I have, the, rustic pizza,
Oh,
Ralphie's, the Olive Branch, the, Grandpa's Ice Cream.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the only ones that have applied so
Yeah.
far.
Cause Grandpa's Ice Cream, when we started talking about farmer's market, was not gonna do anything during COVID. And then I think he got a little bit of some cabin
COVID free.
fever and started. And then I tried to get Ralphie's to come. I reached out again, 2 weeks ago, hoping that they would come for the last few markets, and I have not heard back. And so when I had talked to the rep for this fundraiser, she said it wasn't easy. She said it was hard. And there were some food trucks that wanted money up front,
Yeah.
wanted them to pay them for 'em, and I'm like, I said, absolutely not.
And we've really, the biggest hiccup we've come into so far has been separation of our farmers market and private food truck events. And so some of our farmers market vendors didn't understand that that is a village-run event with liability with the village and everything else, whereas these food truck events that are run by private parties are not. And so they did have to file out all new paperwork, and that's been a
Right.
little bit of a hiccup for them, but other than that, it seems to be going
I do know
well.
some of the food trucks that come down from other places don't understand that they have to have an Ogle County food permit from the health department.
Yeah.
Chris, or 15th and Chris, that was crazy last week.
Yeah, but,
They were
yeah,
lined up down through the parking lot, but their burgers are delicious.
I didn't make it last week, but I went to the one the
They hear
previous
about?
week. It was good.
What?
Chris and Chris coming tomorrow?
No.
no.
Yeah.
No, they come down to DJ Liquors.
And I got to the one I went to so late that they were out of the burger I wanted. They didn't have the toppings for it.
I like the Sunrise. It's got hash browns, over easy egg.
Yeah, as I said, the food trucks applications that we've had are
Yeah, that
Yeah, they do, it was good food. What I did have was really good.
make killing. Last week was crazy.
All right, anything further? Parks?
No.
Chris, streets?
We have a sinkhole on Misty Meadow Lane that's probably gonna be something the board should know about. You wanna describe it, or you want me to?
Oh, you have pictures or no?
Yeah, I have pictures, but that ain't gonna help, 'cause he doesn't have them, so.
Oh, I thought, okay, my bad, I thought you were emailing him to you.
Oh, no, I could have though. I probably can if you want.
It's up to you.
Well, you can't really tell from this how bad it is, because you
No, you
can't see
can't.
underneath the road, so I don't know how much of a help it will be. But it right in front of the house there on Misty Meadow Lane, there started to be a round sinkhole, near the guy's mailbox, and it's apparently, he emailed us me over the weekend, myself and Rick over the weekend, and, I notified Fergie, and we said we'd come out and look at it at the first of the week, which now is today. And we got all the rain today, and it's just much worse, because it's migrated itself underneath the road.
I stopped and looked at it.
Yeah, and then on one side of the road, it probably goes a foot or two, and then it goes, 3 feet underneath, and then this way it goes even farther, and, Mr. Fergie stuck a metal rod down, and there was no resistance, so there's,
The first one.
it's really
Yep.
soft, and and a lot of it's washed out or I don't know, where's it
Yeah,
going?
Right there.
Well, it's following,
No, where does the stuff go? I mean,
I think
No
we all wish we knew
man's
that one.
well, it's just like it vanishes
Yeah.
because it's
it
gone.
does,
and
it just washes it through, so
Yeah,
that's
so-
just the way they work. so-
there's a crap load gone, so, Fergie barricaded it and, put some sandbags to keep the runoff from the road from going into the hole. And they added, what'd you call that?
We put, a chip stone, basically with no fines in it, we call them chips, sewer chips. So we got as much of that under the concrete shoulder as we could to try to save that, because it is starting, little by little, starting to fall in. And, so we haunched as much stone as we could under there. Right now, we're guessing it's going at least probably 4 feet under the road. And then it's following the concrete shoulder to the north, about
that's-
5 feet
Yeah. and
Where,
what do I
so-
do?
what, you probably remember, where was that, wasn't there a sinkhole that came in?
further north,
It was down.
Was it?
it's further north.
According to, both Fergie and William, there's more than one on this road.
We've battled sinkholes there,
Yep.
well, that I know of for 7 years.
And they were in the road.
Now, well, the one you're talking about is a few houses to the north on the other side, and that one we had to do flowable fill. I can't remember if we just paved the road, that's why we did flowable fill, 'cause we didn't wanna dig it up. But that one went under almost that entire lane, the southbound lane there. So that was
Yeah.
about 10 foot into the road.
Yep, and then we had
So-
one down on
I thought
the
we,
side like this, on the other side of the street, kind of on the corner.
We've repaired,
I thought this is where we had
numerous
the ones
sinkholes.
before we did the roads.
we did about 7 years
I wanna
ago.
say-
We
I thought
had-
it was right in here.
Well, we had a patch there, we had a patch further north, but then we redid the road, and then we had another one. Yes, it's kind of an ongoing thing there.
Yeah.
So, but you're correct, Rick, we did have several before we did
Yeah.
the street project too.
I just remembered, but we've got, I know we've got the
Yes.
ones along Autumnwood that, around 108,
Mhm.
where you guys have been there every year filling the same hole and
Mhm.
it just sloughs out.
Yep.
And you got nothing.
So, unfortunately, we will probably, there's a very good chance we will be removing concrete, removing pavement, to find out what the extent of this is, so, because what we don't wanna do is have it collapse or get worse in the middle of winter when we can't do any work to it.
Which
So-
side is the storm sewer on? Or the sewer on, not storm sewer?
The sewer is on this,
This side?
yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, I think water's on the other side, I believe.
Yeah.
'Cause you got a hydrant down here somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, there's a hydrant right
At the
there,
end of my driveway.
Here?
Nope, over
up one more.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause the water's on the other side.
Yep. But and it's not, I don't believe this is anything, this probably has nothing to do with, water and sewer. What I think is, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact the ground opened up during the drought.
Correct.
And, water, all it needs is a hole, a crack, whatever, to get into and start working. And so,
It's compacting the soil for you.
yes, so it's going to be a fairly large project.
Yeah, I hope we could, well, we'll see. I just want you guys to know, 'cause it might be expensive, it may not, I'm inclined to think that it's gonna be more expensive
It's
than not.
probably, it might be something we may have to contract out, because, like I said, we don't have a saw big enough to cut the asphalt, the concrete. We can dig out the pavement, stuff like that, so maybe we rent a saw, try to do it ourselves. I don't know yet, that's a discussion I'll have with Chris here, later on tomorrow, whenever.
But just to let you guys know that it's coming, 'cause you're gonna have to fix it, it's gonna be a problem. If somebody drove over that now, it would just, especially if you buried anything heavy, it'd probably just go down. We have it barricaded so they can't really do that unless it continues, and we are supposed to get more rain.
Correct.
Oh, we-
Tomorrow, but tomorrow, I don't know what, I didn't see the forecast for overnight, but tomorrow's supposed to drizzle, even though it's not,
Yeah,
be
they
the same.
said maybe tomorrow after another half inch.
Yeah, they didn't say a lot, they just said
On the
drizzle.
3 inches that we already got.
When? Yeah, well, I'm just saying, we're gonna have to do whatever we have to do to to keep it from being a bigger mess than what it is. And we'll explore our options to fix it as we go, after we find out the extent of the damage. There's no way to do that while it's still raining and still, and the ground hasn't somewhat stabilized. Thought there was something else, but I can't remember now, so there you go. You got anything?
I don't believe so, no.
All right, then, we're good.
Anything on utilities?
Just, everyone is aware, the water tower project is now moving along slowly because of the rain, so, it's kinda hard to do that job when it's pouring down rain on them. So far so good with the temporary tanks, the pressure system. And then as for, wastewater, we did end up having a company, we talked about the PLCs, so we did have a company come down last week. We're waiting on their results on a, temporary emergency backup for the wet well, system like we talked. Waiting to hear back. Hopefully this week we'll get an answer and a price and what we can do. My long-term goal here is if we can get a workaround or a backup, this would be something that I would like to budget for next year. And maybe, if the board wanted to, we do it all at once, whatever. We'll discuss that when the time comes, but, so just waiting to hear back from them and I'll update you once I know.
All right. Anyone have anything on economic development? I did have somebody reach out to me today about, providing internet service to Davis Junction. So I sent them to Sandy to make sure that our current contracts do not have any exclusions in them or bandwidth or, so they're looking.
He doesn't wanna provide internet per se, he wants to provide, well, I guess not internet, he wants to provide it to the residential side, not to
Right.
the village itself.
Right.
Okay, just wanted
No,
to
no,
clarify.
to the resident.
He also asked about that, but I clarified with him that we have iFiber and we're not.
No,
gonna do
it's
that, so,
it's residential
yeah.
internet, so looking for space on the tower and then to see whether or not we have, proprietary with existing people or because of that and Verizon, if there's even, probably not even a physical room, but like he was looking for bandwidth, whether or not he's got room to fit in there. So that's potential. Anything else on economic? We have no public unless it's gonna be Dan.
It's good to see all of you.
You too, Dan.
Anything further from board members?
Oh, something I forgot to mention is last week we talked about, trick-or-treating hours, and we decided that we're gonna kinda hold out right now until we see what happens with our current state of whatever you wanna call it. So to answer any questions you may have, Sandy.
Yeah, I also have her working on that.
Yeah, that was part of the email too.
Yeah, I just totally just let you know, and you'll let her know when you know when you know.
Well, it really depends on what your Britzker does.
Yeah, I also do wanna, I'm just gonna mention this, cause I mentioned it to Dina. We have an astronomical amount of shut-off notices that are gonna be hung tomorrow. It is almost double our normal. At this point, I have asked residents to contact me. Of the 40-ish letters I sent out, only about 10 of them have paid. So I really need people to contact me, the residents, just be in contact with me if you need to make a payment arrangement. But they're just not, and it's not gonna be pretty this month. So that's just your heads up. If somebody calls one of you guys, please direct them to me. We just need to make contact and make arrangements.
Anything further from board members? Appointed?
Motion adjourned. Second.
Jared makes a motion to adjourn, John seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. We are adjourned at 7:55.